Live! Yeah, we're back. It's been a while since I've done an Entmoot live. I'm going to apologise in advance because I've got a little fan that is shining a little, well, sort of aiming directly at my microphone, so you might be able to hear that. But it's very muggy, very close today here. So welcome along to Entmoot Live. Exciting one because I did promise this a while ago, just before the start of the Rings of Power TV series. I did one talking about the Osgiliath box set, but I promised a live reactionary type chat thing all about the Rings of Power, and that is what we're going to do today. I'm going to introduce you to my good friend and YouTube colleague, I suppose, of sorts, fan, Battle Camper. He's in the studio. It's Alex Temple.
Hello.
Big round of applause for Battle Camper. There we go. The crowd is going wild.
That was the saddest sound I've ever heard.
That's how excited everyone is. If only I'd have prepared and played a short video of someone doing a round of applause. But anyway, welcome along, Alex. It's nice to have you on the program. I know I'm trying to think. I think, did I talk to you at one point during an Entmoot? At one point, maybe I can't remember. Either way, I've. Is that a no? I think that was.
That's a no. We've done is I interviewed you the first time we met when you invited me to the tournament last year,
and you didn't connect the microphone properly.
I didn't connect the microphone,
and I can't remember. I think you glossed over it in the video, didn't you? In the end,
we had to record it. We recorded it again.
You were
but really busy, rushed off your feet trying to get this tournament to run. And then I had to come to you and be like, I'm so sorry. I hadn't that we were passing this microphone back and forward. And then I realized you can see it on camera. You can see the fact the other end is on the desk, just not plugged into anything.
Great. I'll have to watch that. I'll have to watch that one again. But if anyone doesn't know who Battle Camper is, or the channel is Alex, and he goes around and does videos, kind of from tournaments, or maybe the sort of real selling point is from the travels in the wild in your Battle Camper, and you'll paint trees in a tree place, and you'll paint horses in a horse place, and things like that. It's all very, very, very cute, isn't it?
I feel patronised.
It is absolutely one of the best things.
Too late. It's far too late for that. But...
Best things on the internet. It's Battle Camper. So if you're joining us now, and you've never been here before, because there are some names in here that I've not seen before, welcome along. I am Harry. I do Entmoot, the podcast, and the YouTube channel that we're on, and big fans of the Middle-earth strategy battle game, and therefore big fans of Lord of the Rings. But tonight, we will find out whether we're big fans of the Rings of Power. Both of us pretty interested in Lord of the Rings and the Rings of Power. Mr. Battle Camper, you know what? I'm just going to call you Alex. Alex, it's just on the screen. It says Battle Camper.
I wondered whether you'd just forgotten my name then for a second.
No, it's because it's there, and it's like obvious shameless self-promotion there. You went with your channel name rather than your actual name. People can find the link, not the link. I think it's just tagged you in the description to go and watch that. So you've got your promotional stuff there. But anyway, how big a fan are you of the Lord of the Rings films?
the films.
The films.
Yeah. I mean, it's interesting, isn't it? I remember when I was very little and I sat on my grandparents' the floor in their lounge, watching their old VHS copies of the original Star Wars trilogy. My gran she used to love Star Wars.
We're talking Lord of the Rings, not Star Wars.
No, I know. I promised.
Okay, this is a long story. Button up, everyone. Get ready.
I'm in the wrong podcast. I'm so sorry. And I guess I see the Lord of the Rings as my generation's like the defining, the defining sort of sci-fi fantasy merge them into a single genre, epic. That trilogy, something that comes to is a gift that I want to give to the next generation. It's like, these are the films that we grew up with. If you've got to take one bit of the culture that defines our generation and have it live on, then let it be these three films.
It's a high bar, isn't it? Okay, we'll follow that with what were your sort of opinions of the Hobbit films? Initially, I feel that as well. There's always that intake of breath, isn't it? It's like
I basically if I'm going to watch through Lord of the Rings, I do the Hobbit films first. I think that they certainly don't have the heart and the soul, and I think it's funny at times when you watch the Lord of the Rings trilogy, and obviously the filmmakers took liberties with it. Obviously, they deviated from the books, some ways badly, and some ways really well. Actually, one of the examples I think appropriate for this podcast is the Entmoot. The Entmoot in the books is just not as good as it is in the films, because in the books, Merry and Pippin don't really influence the decision of the Ents. They're kind of just bystanders, and they kind of watch it happen. Whereas in the films, they are instigators, which gives their characters purpose, and it drives the plot.
Agency,
agency, absolutely. But at least in those films, you listen to the dialogue, and you know that even if slightly tweaked or at times completely original, it is Tolkien. It is Tolkien's writing coming through. In the Hobbit films, sometimes you can tell that writers have written something and said, that sounds Tolkienish. I mean, an example I always come to, and you're probably going to tell me that it is actually something that Tolkien wrote now, is when Galadriel's talking about them burying the Witch King, and she says they were buried in a place so dark it will never come to light. Now, I'm not aware of that being in any of the original fluff anywhere. Maybe. I don't think it is, unless someone's going to correct me.
Someone say in the comments if he's right or not.
Yeah, because it's always to me, it's just like, that's not how darkness works, and it's just a really tacky, like, it feels like something someone made up because they'd forgotten to do their homework and they had to crowbar it in the last second. It feels like it's got the core elements of being Tolkien, but without the magic. And I think that is at its essence what I think of the Hobbit films.
Interesting. See, you mentioned magic. I think one of the things that I don't like about the Hobbit films is the magic. That there's a lot of sort of explosion magic, if that's a thing. You know how, like, in the Lord of the Rings, the only magic we get is the really cool scene with Gandalf and Saruman, like, smashing each other around. It all feels very physical. There's a little bit more of the kind of lightning bolt magic that I don't really like in the Hobbits. But that's just one of... that's just one of the things I don't like about the Hobbit films. But I do love the Lord of the Rings, I think. So anyway, that sets our store, which is good for the discussion which we'll have later on in the show. But let's delve into the comments. So people have been commenting and saying hey and all that sort of stuff. So let's say hello. Let me know where you are and what you're doing. If you've got painting or if you're doing anything else, let me know. Some people, Tiark S. Fans of what? I definitely didn't expect people to like something this terrible. Well, this is interesting. We can get into this debate later. I think Tiark posted that. T-Jark posted that when it was just a waiting screen early on. Frederick says hello. Welcome, Frederick. Callum says good evening. Good evening, Callum. I feel like I've known that T-shirt before. Yes, this is the Friendship Onion. I'm a fan of the Friendship Onion podcast. It's very cheap shirt, which I spent far too much money on. But anyway, let's see how many grumpy nerds show up, says Frederick. Follow the Fun says hello. Hello, welcome. I don't think we've encountered you before. Follow the Fun here. Welcome along. What time is it out? Thomas Minard? Not quite sure what that's referring to. The TV series is already out, if you haven't already watched it. It's Cattle Bumper, says Frederick. That's good. Right, okay. Follow the Fun has already delved into the main crux of the program, but we'll deal with this later. Got to say, the Rings of Power is the most boring crap I've ever sat through. Dire luge and story progression.
He's not seen this yet, obviously.
No, yeah, exactly. We're 8.5 minutes in. We haven't even touched any of the topics we've got into yet. Follow the Fun is a fan of the channel, apparently. That's good. J-Max Armies of Middle Earth. I have seen some J-Max Armies of the Middle Earth YouTube content. Very amusing stuff. Lots similar to you, actually, Alex. That kind of lots of kind of modern culty references and meme videos and stuff like that. I think you might like him.
Well, I very much welcome that comparison.
Yeah, exactly. Callum says, I think Alex had to pull a Will Wheaton and walk into an MESBG tournament in Star Wars fancy dress. Yeah, fair enough. Entmoot in the books is better, says Frederick. True. More Ent characters and all Ents go smash to Isengard, Saruman Bada, etc. Are we slagging off Rings of Power dialogue? We're not there yet. Battle Camper, welcome along. That's there. Jonathan Redmond's in. Frederick's in. He says the Hobbit films. We're already into this. It's going straight into it. And Callum is saying something about not in the books. Witch King fled when Glorfindel arrives, and he makes a prophecy that no man will kill him. Yeah, I think. Yeah, I've heard that mentioned. I think that's a different timeline, isn't it, from where they're talking about? Glorfindel does that in the Hobbit, in the sort of Angmari time, where it's more the kingdom is still going, I think, but I'm no expert in this. Alex is 100 times better than J-Mac, apparently, according to J-Mac. So
rejected entirely.
Rejected. Well, either way, welcome along. And I know that more people will be joining, so feel free to say hi and welcome yourself in. And before we get on to the crux, the stuff that you're really here for, the things that are going to set your loins afire, or maybe your keyboard alight as you type in angry messages about what we think. I just wanted to delve into some brief Middle Earth news. Middle Earth strategy battle game rule news, because today it's very minor, but today we had some PDFs released of various things, including the quick start battle host rules. I believe it's battle host quick start rules guides. Alex, what do you think of these?
I think that the ones for the boxes themselves they're not. My opinion is they're not really worth anything. You're not gonna turn up to an event, even if you did just have the models from the box with that. I'm not entirely sure why they asked the intern, presumably, to put those together. The main rules one, certainly handy.
Look at this. I'm scrolling through it. There's 14 pages of it, and an incomplete magic list and all that sort of stuff. It's great.
You see, well, I'm kind of the opposite. There are already some quick reference guides produced by members of the community, which are fantastic, really good. And
can you send me them? Because they're quite.
They cram an awful lot of information into sort of 2 or 3 pages. And for me, I'm like, well, if I've got a 2 or 3 page reference guide, something I could laminate and have in my box and take with me to from event to event, great. If it's going to be 14, 15 pages, I've just got the rule book.
Yeah, I think you're probably right there. They used to do a really good fold away thing with the box set, the Hobbit box set. I don't know whether they've done one for the. They must have done one for the Pelennor Fields one. I'm trying to think whether I got one. Maybe they didn't. I think it was a booklet again, but it does seem a bit point. I think what you don't want all this stuff that we're scrolling through, move phase and blah blah blah. I mean, it's handy for people to not have to buy the box set and to get an idea of the game, I guess, if they've never played it before. But it's not really much use to anyone who isn't a complete and utter beginner, because the only thing that's useful here is I suppose the wound chart, which I've been using a lot longer than I should be, really. But most of it's all in the book, and you kind of will expect it. But it's just annoying that it's incomplete. Like, why would you have magical powers and then only have these 5 that I know they're the ones, and people will be saying this in the comments if they're bothered, but and they're the special rules, but they're only the ones that are featured in the battle host boxes. But even so, it still seems a bit. It's a bit pointless to me. I think you want the tables. You want the list of weapons and special strikes. You want the special rules, and you want the magical powers. And if it's just going to be the stuff in the box, it's kind of like I actually think so. Sometimes when they print their rules booklets, they also print like the profiles, and they used to, for a bit, at least for 40k and stuff, they used to put like rules in the box. But of course, because particularly with the nature of those games, with all the games, it doesn't help you. You must still have the army books. Yeah.
Or you can't play. So it was just a waste of paper. And I'm like, it's not a brag to say there's rules in the book, rules in the box, sorry, if those rules don't actually get you to the table. It's almost like saying, well, instructions included in the box, but they only give you half the instructions. And then you're winging it the rest of the way. It's like, well, thanks a bit, I guess, but it's not really a useful guide for me.
Yeah, I'm kind of with you there. It's handy for that time when if someone goes, I really like Lord of the Rings, I'm going to buy a box set. Here's something in this box set that I can now play. Maybe if you're young, if you're a kid who's just gone, I really like the films that are 20 years old, so it's probably not going to be a kid. But anyway, they go get them, and then they get these basic rules. And I think there's a scenario in it that's the most pointless scenario I've ever seen. Let me just get this back on the screen, because this is an unusual one. Where is it? Let me just bring it back. Apologies for the clickage. Is it this one? Yeah. Okay. So this, if you can see here, it essentially says the size of the playing area doesn't matter too much, but it should be large enough to fit their models on the field at least 12 inches apart from each other. You roll priority, and then it's a battle to the death. The first side to wipe out all their opponent's models is the winner. I mean, come on. Did they need to write that down? That's just what everyone does anyway, isn't it? If you don't know scenarios, you just do this. But anyway, maybe I'm being mean. It is clearly for newbies.
I get that point. And I'm seeing a few comments from people saying, well, it's not aimed at people other than beginners. Yeah. But my problem is, I'm not sure. I'm not. Maybe it is. Maybe I'm being too cynical. But I'm not sure what value it has for beginners either, because. Well, but basically because it's still only half the story. I guess if you're going to pick up a battle box, and then maybe your friend is picking up another one, and you're just going to play with those two, maybe that's what it works for.
I guess it's for a mini. If you want to do a mini game with just the models in 2 battle hosts, then you can do something, I guess. But
then I'm that awful kind of person when I play a lot of or at least play a lot of Fantasy Flight games, and a lot of the Fantasy Flight games are really complicated. And what they do is they put like a beginner's like a basic version and then an advanced version. And I'm always, every single time without fail, I'm like, screw the beginner version, let's do the advanced version, because that's where all the fun's going to be.
Yeah,
and then we never actually finish the game because we get too bogged down in all of the niche mechanics, and it's very plain that we should have just done the beginner's version from the outset. So I'm probably not the best person to ask.
Yeah, I think I'm probably more like more the opposite of you. I'm quite happy to just put some stuff on a table and get going with the game, because usually I pick it up as it goes along. So I prefer a basic thing to get me started, and then I'll add stuff as it goes along. But anyway, that's in the Middle Earth Strategy battle game rules today. That's all out today. And I think someone said, JMac says, I think the price of the new Battle Host boxes is amazing. You know what? I actually haven't looked at the prices. But this is a very good question. Maybe someone can tell us in the chat, because I'm not going to search it right now. But if it's an amazing price, I'd imagine what we're thinking. There's 2 boxes. I'd say it must be 50 quid, or maybe a little bit over that if it's going to be a good price. But
if it's around the 50 quid mark, I think that's amazing. I think that's
well, I'm basing this on the fact that JMac says it's an amazing price, so that's what I would consider an amazing price. Who else we got? We got quite a lot of comments in, actually. Follow the Fun says, sorry to sound so cynical and blunt, we'll try to spread positivity henceforth. No, it's fine. All opinions welcome. Jakey says, watching along whilst doing the dreadful post-tournament hobby desk clean. Okay, well, that's good. Welcome along, Jakey. I hope the tournament was good, and I hope you're getting something ready for the next one during the stream. Excuse me, I've got a bit gas because I've been drinking red wine. It's a bad idea. It's a Wednesday after all. Fat Hobbit Gaming says, hey guys, love both your vids and podcast. Awesome media. Oh, thanks.
Thank you so much. That's really kind.
Yeah, Frederick's talking about them being basic rules, which is fair. Tim Elwes says, +1 grumpy nerd here. Okay, good. we'll get your comments on the show later on. Hopefully you've watched it. And then Frederick says a bit more about the things. Fat Hobbit Gaming says, yeah, they're only aimed at beginners, so you don't want to overwhelm them. Yeah, fair enough. The Battle Host set seems like a good way for new people to get into the game, but it's not really groundbreaking for people who already play MSBG. Nail it on the head, I think. Here we go, 52 quid. That is really good.
That is really good.
52.50. About 25 quid plus savings. Yeah, that is really good. If you're sort of tempted by a Saruman or a Gandalf or a whatever it is, you'd probably go with the Battle Host.
And see, the problem is I am tempted by a Saruman. So.
Yeah, and then you get some Urukai for free. It's great. Although I don't know whether they're still... I think they must have given up by now on giving away the Siege Urukai, because those models, they're very rarely used in games, and they're all not very easy ones to convert. So hopefully they're not in the box. I can't remember.
I think everything in all the boxes is plastic. If I'm
right. Yes. Well, the Siege ones were plastic. In fact, I think I might have. What do I have? I have this. What's this? No, that's not it. But I have that's Battle Host. There you go. We're talking about Battle Host. Anyway, so that's one of the things, and one of the other things that I haven't spoken about since I last came on here was the release of the elves, including Glorfindel. Woo! And you've got one of these on your painting table. Is that right? Oh,
I do, and I know that everyone is going to accuse me of bandwagoning, and I think in their defense, if I wasn't already planning to do elves next, then I would have been anyway. I would have happily jumped on the bandwagon.
I mean, it is a beautiful model.
I mean, it is an absolute. It literally blew me away. Like I was in the middle of a tournament. It was the Star Wars Legion tournament, and I was checking this stuff during the lunch break. And usually my energy to do a game when I'm in the middle of a tournament for that game is sky high. And I must admit, my Star Wars energy just sort of drained out of me. And I was like,
really?
I'm itching to get back to my desk and do some elves. I've been doing some test paint schemes for some elves.
Oh yeah, so they're Lothlorien as well, aren't you? So you've got the.
Yeah, I'm doing a mix of. There's basically nothing done on it, so I've just been trying some. I'm a beginner at non-metallic metal, so I'm trying to get non-metallic metal down on the sword.
Oh wow! You've gone with the really long painting idea.
Yeah, but that's if you can do a low model count army, an elite low model count army. Mm-hmm. Also, when I did Seven Stones, obviously my partner's army was just so stunning.
Sick.
Absolutely blew me away.
It was really
genuinely
good.
Inspired me. I get a few comments on that video, people saying like, "How do I paint like that?" And I'm just like, mate, if I could tell you, I would, but I'm not there yet.
Yeah, so, it's Carl, isn't it? Carl Pates.
Carl Pates, that's right. Yeah,
who's absolutely amazing. I was just having a quick see if I can quickly dig out the pictures, but I don't have them to hand because I know I put them on somewhere at some point. But anyway, they're really, really nice. Search for him in the Great British Hobbit League, and hopefully you'll find some stuff. So that's cool. And you did mention just before we came on air, we were talking about your elven thing. Oh, and by the way, I'm going to do a prize draw for this for patrons at the end of the thing. So you might actually win it, which would be awkward, Alex.
Super awkward. Yeah. If I do, I promise I'll donate it back. So
okay, well that's fine. We'll pull someone else out. But yeah, you were saying
the cash equivalent, obviously.
Yeah, of course. So yeah, well, you were saying you've got the thing, but you're not quite sure on the construction of the army. So if people are elf fans, prick up your pointy ears. Hopefully, you might be able to help Alex because you've got some questions to how to structure your army.
I do have some questions, so thank you. Yeah, and any advice, very welcome. And let me preface this by saying, don't feel like you would be patronizing me if it's a basic point. I don't have a great win streak record, so I take no advice is insulting. So I really want to mix Rivendell and Lothlorien because I would have gone with a pure Lothlorien list, but the Rivendell models are just too gorgeous.
Yeah,
so
nice,
I'm resolved that the Rivendell portion is basically likely to just be either Elrond or Glorfindel plus 6 knights.
So I've got a set of knights and a plastic,
and that's it.
Hero.
And obviously the thing. So to question one, and I'll kind of get onto this in a second. Is for a first go, considering it be my first time using elves, which of those 2 heroes? I'm leaning towards Elrond is more expensive. I think by a significant chunk. He's like 50 points more expensive or something. But obviously it means that those 6 knights aren't going to be counted towards my bow limit, which in a very low model count army is quite nice. It allows me to get some Lothlorien bows in there as well.
Actually, that's a good point. Don't the elves automatically come with bows?
They do. So basically,
you wouldn't be able to do anything but Elrond then because So because you remember your bow limit is split per allied force. So
oh shit! Sorry. Oh, poo.
That's fine.
Okay,
that's fine.
I didn't know that. So because I've never taken an allied force either. So your bow limit is you can only have 30. So you couldn't have all elves with bows on one side. And then no bows on the other to balance it out. Yeah,
so you'd have to have Elrond, sadly. Callum has confirmed this. He has to be Elrond as he makes knights not count to bow limit. So you could probably do Glorfindel 2 knights and then 4 Rivendell warriors, which would be a bit weird. And then you'd be okay. But other than that, no. Sadly, that's forced your hand ever so slightly.
Well, there we go. That's that. Thank you. Actually, I think that's fine. That's one decision. Very, very simple. I'll still paint Glorfindel just because I want to get my table.
And eventually you'll do a. Yeah, I was going to say.
But good. I mean, Elrond is still absolutely gorgeous, and I can't wait to get him painted. So that's nice. Stage 1. So step 2 is. So I'm hopefully right about this.
Yeah.
Galadriel, if she's in the Lothlorien force, and I was taking pure Lothlorien, there's no way that she can't be the army leader because she's the only hero of legend. But if Elrond was in the Rivendell force, he could be the army leader because he's also a hero of legend. And I understand that Galadriel, because she's unarmed, certain scenarios, she's almost an auto lose if she's your army leader. She's extraordinarily difficult to get a win out of some scenarios. So that was my other thinking, was like even if if I ever was going to take Galadriel, basically to take a second hero from the Rivendell's force, a hero of legend from the Rivendell force. But perhaps I'm being too paranoid about Galadriel's limitations.
I think you probably are, yeah. And just by the way, before Frederick says you're allowed to say shit, Alex. It's what people know you for.
Thank you.
Tisk. Very good, Frederick. Thanks very much for that. I honestly think that the Galadriel Contest of Champions thing is probably overblown because Contest of Champion is 1 in 18 scenarios. So it's not that essential. I mean,
I've never played a tournament where it's not shown up, but then I've only played like 4 tournaments. So
Frederick makes a good point. J. Claire won Ardacon with Galadriel, and I think Contest of Champions did come in at Ardacon. So, it does. But then that is J. Claire, not not you. But I think it's fine. You've got a big hitter. You just put someone else in front of, you put like Elrond or Glorfindel in front of Galadriel or a line of elves, and you just crack on, and eventually she might be able to spank someone after immobilizing their leader enough that they don't get any kills. So, yeah. I don't think that's the end of the world. But in terms of opinions of the actual structure of the Lothlorien army, you did have one thing about Sentinels.
So the advice that I've had is that Sentinels are basically absolutely amazing, even though they're expensive. I think they're the expensive warrior in the game, most expensive warrior in the game. The advice I had was one Sentinel per 250 points. So in a 700 so an 800 pointer, which is the next one I'm going to, I think. I'd want 3 Sentinels. Now, your view, Harry, was that that's probably excessive, and you might get away with 2.
Well, I sort of think so, but I think because the 3 Sentinels at 750 points is probably for an army where you're a pure Lothlorien, where you're going, Galadriel, loads and loads of Galadrim warriors, and so you've got a more densely packed front line. But if you're going to go with Elrond, 6 knights, and then ally and Galadriel, having 3 Sentinels feels a bit OTT to me at 800 points, and I think you'd probably suffer in terms of bodies in the army, but I'm not 100% sure. It may well be that it depends on your numbers. But I'd imagine if you're at 800 points, you want to be
low. It's going to be low.
Yeah, you want to be really getting to sort of, I'd say maybe 30 plus at least for elves, maybe 35. But they're elves, so they're going to be a bit high.
List up. That's really helpful. Okay, so last question.
Yeah, everyone feel free to get contribute. Yeah, please. I think J-Max says if you need Lothlorien tips, I'm your man. So write out a long combination with his with Alex's plans. We'll get to it in a bit, J-Max.
Much appreciated. So the last question is, and I think I know the answer to this one. So the only reason I'm taking Galadriel, just to preface this, is because I've never had I've never used a caster before in the game, and I want to learn how. I want to learn what they do and how they're good. And it's I don't want to be excluded from that mechanic. I want to have some fun with it.
Yeah.
Do we take the mirror? And I think the answer is, at least with the composition I'm going with, no, because it's a 25 points that I can't spare. But we've lost Harry. But yeah, welcome some comments on whether or not the mirror makes its points back generally. Is it? I don't get the feeling that it's an auto take, but I've also heard people say that it's a really safe bet to take. I guess you only really take it presumably if you can be quite confident that you're going to be castling up with a bit of a line of elves. But yeah, that's my last question.
Well, I couldn't. Sorry, I just pulled my microphone off and made a loud squawk. So apologies for that. So the Mirror of Galadriel, if people don't know, it's a heavy object with defense 8, 3 wounds, deploy within 6 inches of Galadriel, and what does it do? One friendly hero model may restore their fate to its starting value at the end phase of each turn. So it's what 25 points as well. So is it? Sorry, I've just close it now. Is it friendly hero? Friendly hero. So
exactly. So I think this was the point. Half the point was if you are allying them in, it doesn't even have to be a Lothlorien hero. It could be, for example, Elrond.
Yeah.
Make him an absolute tank. But that's assuming he's going to stay within range of the mirror.
Yeah, that's probably the issue. You can have 2 people carry it for most of the thing, but I mean, I've only seen it used once or maybe twice, and the time that I saw someone use it was when they had Lothlorien allied with Aragorn Strider from the Fellowship. So and he didn't have any armor and all that sort of stuff on Strider, and it was a Spanish guy, Ardicon, not this year but the previous year, maybe Italian, or don't know. Apologies if you're watching. And his argument was, well, Aragorn's going to take, a wound every so often, but I'll just use all my fate on it and then restore it back the next turn. So hopefully he'll survive longer. I don't know whether it's that handy on heroes that already have rerollable fate, like Galadriel. And does Elrond have rerollable fate? I don't know. But anyway, I don't know.
Absolute tanks though.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
You've got Rumil, who's got heroic defense.
Yeah.
I suppose if you've got the armor of Gondolin on what's his face,
Yeah, they'll be next
chance.
to impossible to kill if you can play it right. I suppose the difficulty is if you can get them in the range of it and all that.
Exactly.
Stuff.
And it's in my head, it's like, do you want to be in the middle of the game? Know that what you should be doing is sending your big experienced hero out to do something specific, support a flank away from the mirror, or particularly if they're mounted, or go and secure an objective. And actually, like, I don't want to because I bought the mirror and because I want to get those points back. And psychologically, therefore, you hold back on actually committing them to do what they need to be doing.
Who knows? I suspect if you the likelihood is if the hero's in combat and doing the stuff that you want it to do, it might be a bit tricky to get the range of the mirror. And if you're already going with 3 sentinels, you might not have enough models to be able to, because you're losing 2 elves or a sentinel for the mirror. So, and in that case, I'd probably go with the sentinel instead of the mirror. But I don't know. Let me know. Let everyone, Alex, know what you think. Hopefully, my comments have been helpful at the very least. I'm going to just scroll. Thank you. I'll scroll back through some of the comments from where we stopped, and then we'll get into the real meat of the day. So J-Max says, I'm going to paint one up for a silent charity auction at Stirling if anyone's going. I assume that's Glorfindel, and that's really cool. I wish I was going to Stirling, but I couldn't get tickets. Frederick's talking about when we'll get the Ent Battle Host box, 3 beard and 2 Ents. That would be cool. They could also do boxes for Moria, Goblin Town, or Mirkwood Rangers. Moria doesn't have any plastic heroes, I don't think, but maybe I'm wrong. And nor does Mirkwood Rangers. Goblin Town they should do. That would be good. We were running an MESB tournament of the day of the preview and screened it for our players during the lunch break, and it was great to see the reactions. Yeah, I bet that was a really fun way to watch it, because I really enjoyed that day of releases. It has to be Owen Does He Makes Night. Oh, yeah, we talked about that earlier. You're allowed to say, yeah, we did that earlier. You need Loft It. Oh, we did that earlier. Edward Ball says, Harry, say yes. He's been messaging me on Facebook. I don't know what about, so I'll find out later. J. Claire, one article with Galadriel. Yeah, I hope you're putting bowstrings and arrows on all your elven archers. Are you one for doing that?
I'm not, actually. I'm sorry.
I think in this situation you should go to an archery range and paint someone with a bow, fire arrows with the model attached to it or something for your channel, and then you've got to put the strings on it or something. Maybe use this something. There's a video there. Come on, think of the content, Al.
I'm up for that. I'm definitely up for something updated. I mean, what I had planned so far, to be honest, was going to the Alps, and trying to find. So I mean, it's a similar concept to the Scottish one, but trying to find the perfect Rivendell location in the Alps, because obviously some of the most kind of stunning vistas in Europe. Definitely a lot of like Alpine vibes from Rivendell in the films, and a good excuse to finally get abroad. So
yeah, well, there you go. Yeah, fine. Yeah, good idea. 650 points, perfect combo for Galadriel Celeborn. So there you go. That's some advice. I took 3, I assume it was Sentinels, and it was a bit much. 2 would have been perfect. Okay, so there you go. That's a hint that I was maybe down the right line. The Balrog is a plastic hero, of course he is. Plastic Tariel and Legolas is a Legolas. Is there a Legolas? Plastic Legolas? Oh, there is one. He's in the 3 Hunters, isn't he? I don't know whether they could do that. Anyway, well done, Frederick, for pointing out those. So that is the substance of your army stuff. I will continue. We'll revisit any of these comments later on. But let's start delving into the rings of power. So get your keyboard fingers sharpened up as you begin the war that is debating the merits or demerits of this TV series. So first of all, I have prepared a cheesy game for this. So the cheesy game revolves around, I think, Alex, you've got yours ready. We've got a deck of cards each, there you go, which go from ace to 10. And we're going to rate some of the characters and their betrayals as we sort of thought of them later on. But first of all, I want to play this game that I do every video that I do, which is essentially you've got to watch this clip, and I will ask you a question about said clip, and then we will we'll see if you know what I'm going. I really need to come up with a really good way of explaining this, but basically I'm going to play the clip, and I'm not going to ask you the question until you've watched the clip, so you don't know what you're looking for. All right? Does that make sense, Alex? That's that. You get it?
I'm following.
So yep. See, you're a pro at this. You know what you're doing, right? Okay, let's watch this.
It took 2 attempts at the explanation, but I'm following now.
Okay, right. Let's pay attention to this clip, everyone. and YouTube will take this this clip off at the end because obviously Amazon's angry at me after playing it.
Stranger isn't a man, or an elf, or some baby eagle with a broken wing. That was one time. He's something else. Maybe something dangerous. Now you sound just like Melva and the sisters. Oh, it's not just them. Anybody finds out that we helped a stranger, and anything bad that happens the next 3 seasons will be our fault. If fog lasts a little too long, we'll get stuck in a rut. Go, quick, go faster before it crashes!
Ha ha ha! Jolly good. That was some Harfoots from the Rings of Power. Wasn't that great? What did you think of that? Just before we get into it, what do you think?
I'm scared now. I tell you what, actually, I really liked that scene. When I first watched it, I thought it was well portrayed. There's obviously some rudimentary but very effective character building in there for characters that I had no familiarity with whatsoever, and that made them quite likable. I think with a show like this, particularly one where the expectations are so high and all the lore is so beloved by those who are so invested in it, making anyone unfamiliar both likable and not so shallow that they kind of circumvent that requirement by having you able to kind of just project whatever personality you want onto them is a bit of a trick. And I thought it was lovely. I thought it was a nice scene. I think it did it well.
Yeah, I thought it was fun. Yeah, I like that. I like that. The Harfoots are my favourite bit. We'll get into the detail a bit later. But the question, of course, which everyone is asking, I mean, Frederick's just put a string of answers.
I know. I hope one of them's right.
I don't think so. The question is, J-Mac also doesn't mind the Halfoots. Halfoots, is it? I think it's Harfoots rather than Hal. But maybe I'm saying it wrong. So maybe someone should Google that for me.
It's not Harfoot.
I thought it was a Harfoot. Okay, maybe J-Mac just typed it wrong or something. Anyway, the question is, what is in their hair? What kind of nature is in their hair? I mean, I'll say nature because it's obvious, but can you remember what is in their hair? Yeah, J-Mac's hungover and he can't type. Oh, this is interesting. One cart with crashed drunk Erendil. Erendil? The light of our most beloved star? Is that what it is? Is that who he is? I don't know. We've got leaves. We've got weed. These are not specific enough. Do you know the answer, Alex of Battle Camper fame?
As long as there are no follow-up questions, yes. Yes, I do.
Right. Well, there are going to be follow-up questions specifying what your answer is. Follow the Fun says details. Okay. Yeah, more details. Yeah. Plants. Frederick says
I was about to go with more hair, but Frederick's beat me to it.
Oh, has he? Yeah. No. It's hair. And we have a winner. We've got a winner. Someone got it. Colin, who hasn't been in the chat so far, he's just stormed into the chat, gone, you know what, I'm going to join this thing. I'm going to get the correct answer immediately. It's not horns because someone just commented underneath that. It's acorns. Of course it is. Let's watch it again with the mic.
Stranger isn't a man.
Look at this.
Or an elf,
see,
or some
can you
baby
see it?
eagle with a broken
Not
wing.
in this
That was
one.
one time. He's something else.
Twigs, leaves, yeah, okay. The next bit, you'll be able to see it. Oh, okay.
Maybe something
See,
dangerous.
acorns
Now
there
you
on
sound just
her,
like
the
Melva
top
and
of her
the
head.
sisters, not just them.
Congratulations
Anybody
to everyone
finds out
involved,
that we helped a stranger,
especially
and anything bad that
Colin
happens the next 3
Welpley, who
seasons
has a
will
pretty
be
cool
our fault.
picture as
If
his display
fog lasts a
picture
little too long,
here on
we'll get stuck in a rut.
the old YouTube. So there you go. Well done to them. I was talking all the way through that, probably because it might reduce the chances of Amazon telling me off for having that clip. So there you go. Acorns was the correct answer. Did you enjoy that game, Alex? There's only one answer.
I adored that game.
Great. Lovely.
Good.
But the big question is, how do you feel about the TV series as a whole? We've only got 2 episodes out of 8 or 9 or 10. I can't remember exactly. I think it's 8. But let's get into it. Let's get in the nitty gritty. How do we feel? And also, everyone, please, I'd like it in 1 sentence, maybe 2 clauses. 1 sentence. What are your feelings? And obviously, don't be too mean. If don't be all vitriolic. Just be honest opinions. I'm up for. Right, come on then, Alex. What do you think?
Okay, I'm going first, am I? So you can hang me out to dry if the crowd turns against me. If I could sum it up it would be as I'm cautiously optimistic. I had a lot of fun.
Mm-hmm.
I have, as we were talking about earlier, I've had to compartmentalize to a certain extent,
Mm-hmm.
and try and judge this on its own merit and not as a comparator to the films, because they don't compare. To be honest, they don't compare. But I did go in knowing that was going to be the likely outcome, and deciding that I'm going to just try and enjoy them for their own thing. Now, I would caveat that very slightly, and then I'll let you talk, by saying that I know some people will say, well, then you're setting the bar artificially low, because it is a part of the world, it is a part of the kind of Tolkien multiverse, and therefore if it doesn't meet the expectations of that multiverse, there's an opportunity cost, because we could have had something else, something that did meet higher expectations. I suppose what I'd say is that's a very fair point, but I kind of, as soon as I heard Amazon and Lord of the Rings all those years ago, I made a conscious decision there and then to throw out the idea that this is going to be cinema of a level of the original three films. And having done that at a very, very early stage, I actually felt I was able to kind of do the mental gymnastics necessary to come in and really enjoy it and have a lot of fun.
That's more than one sentence and one clause, but yeah, I'll let you.
I think if you go back and watch it again, you'll find it was a one long run-on sentence.
It was one poorly grammared sentence, but that's fine. I think I'm probably in a similar boat to you. We'll talk about boats and water in a bit. I think I was more excited than an awful lot of the Lord of the Rings fandom was. I'm a massive fan of Lord of the Rings films. I'm not as obsessed with the with the kind of lore and the appendices and the Silmarillion. I've tried reading the Silmarillion before. I just think it's badly written, and I think it's an amazing world. I've been waiting a long time for someone to do something with the rest of the world that Peter Jackson did so well with what I still think is a pretty poorly written book. It's too long. It's got so much exposition. It's got so much, unnecessary description and explanation and all this sort of stuff. And I know that's a controversial opinion, but I'm glad that someone has gone, you know what, all of this world is worth bringing to the screen and adapting in some way that isn't just boring Christopher Tolkien copy and paste jobs from his dad's work. The whole point, I thought, of Tolkien's mythological world was to create a world to replace the one that we lost when the Anglo-Saxons and so on were invaded by Normans, and we have now a mythology that people can build on and add to, and that's what I think Peter Jackson did, and that's what I think this series is doing, and I'm excited for it. The first episodes, they were very slow. The first one in particular was pretty slow, and I think that's inevitable when you're trying to introduce lots of different storylines and different characters. But it was just lovely to be back to Middle-earth. I was excited. I enjoyed the action sequences. I've enjoyed the Harfoots so much. The opening sequence of the Harfoots hiding, I thought was just beautiful. I think it's fantastic. When they all appear out of the little holes and they're unveiling themselves, and then Nori and all the little ones are all eating berries. They're all big. They're like blackberries that are massive, and the snails are all massive because they're hobbits, and I just love all that stuff. It just reminds me of how much I loved the first ones. Is it perfect? No, but I think we're judging it at the moment on I think I said this to you before, Alex, on it'd be like judging the Fellowship of the Ring on just the Shire bit, like just purely that and not the rest of it. And it's, we've not got the full package just yet, so I'm happy to wait. But yeah, and that was not one clause.
I was going to say, bravo, bang on one sentence, two clauses, then. Really nailed it.
One sentence. Yeah, so
a good journalist, you invite someone on, tell them to keep it brief, and then you whittle on for hours and hours on end.
Look, mate, my name is up here, or my program's up here, so this is my show. I can waffle as much as I want. No, it's true. I should be more succinct. But people commenting. So first, Callum says he watched both episodes twice.
That's a good sign.
I think that was in answer really to the fact that he won the quiz. Sorry, I said Callum. I mean Colin. Apologies, Colin. I've also watched both the episodes twice. Actually, one fully attention, the other just painting the side. Frederick thinks it's the stranger is Erendil who crashed his flying ship, calling it now. we can talk about The Stranger in a bit. Top game. Thanks very much for the game. Now, the first comment about the TV series. This is Follow the Fun, who mentioned earlier he wasn't a big fan. Almost quit watching the middle of the first episode. I was so bored. Didn't even have the energy to be mad at all the bad stuff. It was exactly as bad as I expected it would be. Now, that is quite a strong opinion. And I'm surprised. I think it's a shame that you went in with expectations that it would be bad. I think we should have all gone in with open mind. And I realise that's not possible because there's so much promotion about it. But it was boring. I think boring is probably not the word I would say. It was slow. And I did at one point think this is quite slow paced, considering that they're trying to establish the characters and all this other stuff. I don't know. What do you think? What do you think to that reaction?
Well, can I just start by saying this is an interesting thing. It's like how much can I swear on this? Is it?
Yeah, it's fine.
The F word. We go that.
We didn't swear in the first few minutes, so it's fine. YouTube
okay, make it great. After that.
Yeah,
Amazon are motherfuckers, right? They're awful dickheads. And I saw this article about Jeff Bezos' son saying, "Please don't screw this up." And I'm like, the idea that Jeff Bezos has any control over a property that I love so much just makes me cringe up. I struggled with the instinct. I'm like, I want to defend this and I want to love it, but I also want to hate everything that Amazon says and does. So
I think that's a fair point. And the politics of what you think about Amazon is one thing, but Jeff Bezos isn't like saying, oh yeah, you've got to put this in and do that. He's put money into it and obviously has funded this thing. And it seems to have been left largely to these two showrunners, JD Payne.
You're right. I exaggerated the comic effect, and thankfully you brought me right back down to that.
Sorry to ruin that. But you're right. That I can see the point, and it is frustrating. And I know some people have been angry about that. But I can definitely look past the fact that it's on Amazon because let's be honest. All of the big companies are just as bad as one another. Yes, it's Amazon, fair enough. But if it was Netflix, are they a good force for the world? Are they, giving I don't know. You know what I mean? Like it could be.
No, I get it.
Or Fox or whoever had the rights. You know what I mean? It's
no, I do get it. And it's not. It wasn't really a consideration that swayed my opinion. Like I said, I had a lot of fun. I really enjoyed it. I'm looking forward to the next episodes. The interesting thing for me is. I was surprised to see it launch the same week as or week after whatever House of the Dragon.
Yeah, I think that the House of Dragon deliberately launched theirs a week earlier.
So
from what I gather, I haven't watched any of the House of Dragon yet because I haven't got Now TV, but I will get to it. But some of the CGI is apparently a bit rushed, so I'm intrigued to see that.
So I've seen some news about CGI gaps, but it's reviewing well. I've not watched it either.
Yeah,
I will at some point, but I think that invites that endless comparison. Which is interesting because actually, other than the base aesthetics, the very kind of reductionist aesthetics, they are fundamentally different. I think if you go in looking for, if you stopped watching Rings of Power and thought, I've run out of Rings of Power, but I still need that itch scratching, I'm going to watch Game of Thrones or whatever, House of the Dragon, then you fundamentally misunderstood what at least one of those shows actually is.
Well, and also there was all this kind of conversation about nudity and all this sort of stuff, and I mean it was so not that Game of Thrones ripoff that some people were thinking. It's not got sex and boobs and all this sort of stuff, much to the disappointment of many, I'm sure. But like it's not the same thing, and it's not got the gratuitous violence. In fact, the fight with the troll was pretty blood free, the ogre thing, and that was kind of cool. It was very Legolas, but it was kind of cool. Anyway, I'm just going to run through some of the comments because we've got loads of comments.
Okay, then I've got an
I'm sure you got one point.
Observation for one.
Troll-based observation, yeah, good. Yeah. We'll get into that in a bit. Fat Hobbit Gaming says,
excited.
He says he's enjoying it, except Galadriel trying to swim the entire ocean. Yeah, that was a bit weird, but fine. Could have avoided the swimming by introducing the worm a few minutes earlier. Yeah, that's probably true. John says any new window into Middle-earth is a hoot. I'm not precious about how the story goes. I think the one thing is the story. It's got to. I mean, the broad strokes. They can't change, can they? I mean, it's going to end with the Last Alliance probably, and most of it's kind of fence post off where the story's going. So largely, I'm not bothered about the story. I'm just hoping that I enjoy the stuff while it's happening. Callum says, I like it. Love a new take on the lore and world. Looking forward to more Numenor. Yeah, we haven't seen any Numenor yet. And I think just a brief glimpse at the ship at the end. Colin says it's a solid show in its own right. It has enough Easter eggs for us diehard fans. That's cool. As a sad person that prefers the Silmarillion more than Lord of the Rings, I can't get past all the inaccuracies. One thing I love about Lord of the Rings is the rich history, so I find it hard to look past. Well, I'm sorry, J-Mac, because I went into a rant about how much I hate the writing of the Silmarillion and all that sort of stuff, but I hope you can get past that. I'm hoping now the world building's out of the way, I can enjoy an original story, but some of the dialogue is mince. Worst thing is how it split the community in two. Makes me sad. Let's just get along. I like that. That's a really good.
Hang on. He's like,
let's just get along.
What a stupid coward. He's like, this is trash. How do you get along? That's the kind of divisive political nonsense. You are what is wrong with the world. I get out. I think you should get out of chat.
J-Mac, you've heard there. Alex does not appreciate it. No, I think I think your assessment is fair enough. I don't think the dialogue is mince. I'm not sure it's bad dialogue. I think there's been. I'm not convinced by Galadriel, but we get into that with our ratings in a bit. Is swearing in the first few things? It depends if you've got ads. Sometimes it gets funny if you've got swearing in the first few minutes. But anyway, hey, you guys, says Top Table Gaming. Hey, welcome along. I assume it's Steve. If it's not, then apologies. Painting the floor up. Cameron's in as well. Hello. Sorry, I'm late. Welcome along. Top Table Gaming, Steve, we assume, says Rings of Power is class. Another journey to Middle Earth for me as a win. Wouldn't matter which company would have done it. They're all dodgy. Yeah, that's kind of what I was getting at. I like that. And House of Dragons is okay. Not great, not bad. It's another big budget fantasy series. So as fans of that genre, we'll soak it up. Ooh, sex and boobs, he says. Follow the fun. Rings of Power isn't canon. The showrunners set out to make the story Tolkien never wrote. Also, they didn't have the rights to the Silmarillion. Yeah, but there's so much of the Silmarillion stuff in the appendices that they can kind of get away with it, can't they? I mean, they had the hint of it with the whole start bit where there wasn't even a sunrise and all that sort of stuff. I thought that was all right. And I don't really know what canon means. I don't really care. If you're watching the series and thinking this is changing the books or the films as they are, I think you're misunderstanding how media works. You can still enjoy Lord of the Rings in the same way that we can still enjoy the original Star Wars trilogy, even though there's been plenty of crappy things after that not a lot of people like.
I'm going to ask you to watch yourself.
Yeah, I know. But yeah, I fine. If you don't want to see it as canon, don't see it as canon. And if that helps you preserve what you love about Lord of the Rings, fine, go for it. I don't mind. And yeah,
can I jump to Follow the Fun's defense for a moment? Just to
go on then.
So I don't agree with you. Sorry, just to be clear. Like I said, really like the show, and I'm looking forward to more.
You don't agree with me?
No. I don't agree with him on, because Follow the Fun is obviously.
You're jumping to his defense.
But I'm jumping
to his defense if you don't agree with it. What are you talking about?
I'm jumping in an offensive posture toward you, and placing myself between you and him on this one specific procedural.
Whoa, get apart. That kind of thing. It's like a bar fight. Yeah, okay.
I don't think you can switch. For me, I don't know whether it's everyone else, but I don't think you can switch on and off your headcanon. I don't know enough. I've not read the Silmarillion. I don't know enough about the minutiae of Tolkien lore, I think, to notice all the inconsistencies.
Yeah, neither do I really.
But and I accept the fact I would never try and reconcile like book canon with film canon, because it's not possible even on the present films. So I kind of suppose I'd see the shows as hopefully tying in with the film canon. But I think it can be really it can really pull you out of the world when you see kind of big inconsistencies. And I don't think I can't at least simply set that aside. It bugs me.
Alex, that's too reasonable. Come on, we need to be less reasonable.
Actually, no, you're right.
You make a fair point, and yeah, it's not up for me to decide what Follow the Fun's headcanon or canon or whatever it is. I can't argue with that. And that's me tell, as J-Mac says, I agree. Fence sitter, yeah, fair enough. Old school Chris C. I believe this is Chris Cooper. I may be wrong in remembering that, but welcome, Chris. I know it's a bit obvious, but visually, Rings of Power is incredible. Yeah, we haven't really mentioned that. That is true. There's so much beautiful detail from the great landscapes to the fine jewelry and engravings on the armor. Agreed. The only reason we're talking about the show is because it has Lord of the Rings in the title. Yeah, it also has Lord of the Rings characters. Elrond and Galadriel, and I mean...
Oh, so I've lost you again there. Actually, for the fun. Sorry, I don't agree. I think that I think people would see it more favorably. I think it's launched by its IP, but in a way, at least with the core fans, it's also got a ceiling because of its. So for some people, it's launched directly into that ceiling, and the ceiling doesn't give, and so the skull implodes. Because yeah. Well, what I'm saying is that
I think there's an analogy here that's
it's not quite landing. I appreciate
that. keep going. It's fine.
Yeah, I think it's a poison chalice. I suppose is what I'm saying. And I think the show does stand on its own. I think if you took all the proper nouns out and swapped them out, I don't agree that it would have no value, or that it wouldn't.
I suppose if you change Galadriel to elf maiden or something,
then it would be shit. That would
you know what I mean, like
be better than that.
Some generic elven sounding name, and everyone else. Then I guess, I think you. Yeah, I think that's a good point. I hadn't thought of it like that, but yeah, you're right. It does help that it's Lord of the Rings, because otherwise I wouldn't be talking about it, because I'm connected to the game, and therefore that's what we're talking about. Technically, none of the films are canon. Everything needs adapting for the screen, says Callum. Yeah, I mean, it depends what you want. Yeah, because they don't have Bombadil in, and although I think Philippa Boyens always argued that Bombadil was there, but we just cut him out of the thing or whatever, and there's no Scary the Shire. So yeah, but people like the Lord of the Rings because it's the Lord of the Rings, and they like them. I don't know whether people are just getting angry in advance here. Top Table Gaming, of course it's Steve. I know, but it's not just you anymore on Top Table Gaming. But either way, welcome. Thanks, Steve, for joining. We all love. But yeah, so that was the other part of that. Technically, none of the films carry. So we all love Peter Jackson take Lord of the Rings. We do. Lol, the original Star Wars films are silly. Frederick, light the touch paper and run. Love it. I mean, I'm with you, Frederick. I am, but this is not what we're here to talk about.
Oh, you brought that message back.
Yeah, I know.
That's the third time. Stop it.
Well, this one. Anyway, J-Max says, the way Elrond interacts with Galadriel is a bit weird, considering she's his mother-in-law. Maybe he's a mad shagger and had both of them. Yeah, I mean, they kind of treat... Because they're also cousins or something, aren't they? Mother-in-law and cousins. But, I can see that that can be inconsistent. But, yeah, it's more like they're friends, and he's in the position of power, but I guess that's just the way they wanted to do it to make it work. They did say they'd compress all the timelines down to make it actually doable, which is fair enough. Love the music. Yeah, true. Dwarves, they're both incredible. There were some solid lore accurate scenes like the two trees and Morgoth's shadow rising over the trees. That's cool. And agreed, the dwarf scenes were great too. So that's all the comments so far. We'll have more comments, I'm sure, when we get into our rudimentary rating of the characters. And you were really excited about this when I mentioned this earlier on, weren't you, Alex? I said we want to have something really divisive. And you were like, oh, right, okay, sure. Okay, let's go get cards out the battle camper, the bus.
I mean, for the record, I just called it the van.
The van, sorry, not the battle camper bus, yeah. Which is not what it is at all. But yeah, you did get a mention of the bus in, the van, sorry. Anyway, so... we said at the start, earlier on, we're going to basically rate them, not on like how attractive they are or anything like that, but just on whether we think they're an accurate representation of what we, for example, expect of certain characters in the world, and that not all of them are characters that we know of yet because they're new characters, but kind of what we imagine fitting into the Lord of the Rings. So that's our generic thing. So we'll come back to comments. I know a few people are going to be on comments and follow the fun. I have seen your comment. We'll get there in a minute, but we're going to talk about this for a bit. So let's go with the first person that I'm going to talk about. I've lost the one that I was going to start with. So let's just start with this one. This is Elrond, half elven, and he is Robert Aramayo is the actor. He was also briefly in Game of Thrones, so there's a bit of a nice crossover there. What do we think? What do we think about Elrond in this series so far, Alex? Are you a fan? Do you hate him?
Do we go straight to rating, or we?
No. We'll have a debate first, because I might shift your opinion and vice versa. So, but like, what do you think? I mean, because I don't know. I think he's maybe in my head he's probably one of the weaker characters. But what do you think?
I think his risk is being a little bit too perfect. Now, I say that not from a character perspective. sort of without flaw, I guess. So he's obviously pitched as something a bit different to what we've seen before. And again, I don't know the Silmarillion, so people might say this is. I have no way of knowing whether he was an accurate representation or an inaccurate representation. But obviously, he's pitched as this a bit of a skeptic, a politician, a little bit conniving, in not being fully truthful with Galadriel, but also being this great friend of the dwarves and able to talk them around or talk his old friend out of their grudge, which actually I thought was a really nice touch. Like this kind of like dwarf grudge being the first way of them being introduced. So he's very different to the Elrond who we know. I think who's certainly much more steadfast and much more certain and much more of a leader, I guess. But that's obviously the point, is that it's an early version of himself. Like I say, I think the only thing I would like is I think he's perfectly set up from the first 2 episodes. Again, particularly being just the very nature of his kind of being this kind of political operator of being a flawed person, someone who creates problems as much as they solve them, who's not introspective, who's not reflective, and who is, who can set up an interesting arc for in that way.
You've latched onto the word that I was thinking of, an arc. I think he's set up, I think, so that we don't like him. I don't like him at all. I think he's smarmy. I think he's manipulative, and he's not doing it for the right reasons either. And because he's kind of getting in the way of Galadriel trying to save the world and all that. You kind of think he's a bit of a douchebag. But I suspect that the reason for that is that if he doesn't change at all throughout the course of the series, he'd be an incredibly boring character. So maybe that's the reason. And on that basis, at the moment, are you ready to rate? Are you happy to rate now? Everyone, get your numbers out. 1 to 10. What do you think of Elrond as a representation of who you think of Elrond is? Okay. Right, I am ready with my number. Are you ready with your number, Alex? Okay. Oh, that's a good idea. I'll hold it up and then flip around. 3, 2, 1. I've got a 6 and you've got a 7 out of 10. I think that's an interesting. Yeah, I think I've gone with 6 just because I think he is a bit smarmy. But I'm hoping that by the end of the series he'll be up.
But a flawed character, we don't rate them on. You wouldn't give Sauron a 1 because he's a bit of a knob.
Yeah. I guess it's just because I don't feel like he's the Elrond that I like. I
think that's exactly what you want. Sorry to interrupt, but I think you want a character who you like. They've got to blindside you. With at least some of them, they can't all be the characters that we know thousands of years later. They've got to be someone that can grow into the character we come to know. I tell you what, this is interesting from a character perspective. Again, sorry to keep going back to Star Wars. This is an awful comparison.
Yeah, this is really annoying.
But it's just from a character perspective, very, very briefly. In the animated series, a lot of people will already know that there's the character Ahsoka Tano. And apparently she was written...
I didn't even know there was an animated series.
I said people, the hypothetical person, not you specifically.
Yeah, I know. I didn't know it existed.
Ahsoka was written to be disliked. She was a new character, and she was written to be so that people would hate her as a character. She's annoying, she's frustrating. And then
Jar Jar Binks.
I don't know whether that was intentional, but they then there were like 4 or 5 pivotal episodes where she learned and developed and grew into what's now a really popular character and someone who people respect and genuinely admire. And they did that because they knew they couldn't get people to like her from the off, and so they thought, we'll get people to dislike her, to root against her, and then we'll change people's minds. That's really clever, and it's brave and it's bold, and I hope that they're doing that with Elrond as well.
Yeah, I'm part of me just thinks that they haven't quite set him up. I don't think he doesn't feel nuanced enough for me just yet. He feels a little bit, I don't know, like a smarmy political operator, and I'm not sure whether I like. I don't know. You're probably right here. Maybe you're right. I don't know. Anyway, well, this is another character who we probably have preconceived conceptions from, not just from the films and the books, but also from the posters and artwork, because it's Galadriel, and she was one of the first characters cast, and sort of, I guess, trumpeted as being the big main hero of the thing, or heroine. And I'm going to start here because I was really excited for Morpeth Clark, who is fantastic in a horror film. I can't remember the name of the horror film. It's about her being like a carer, and she kind of, it's all a horror film, and she kind of ends up being kind of demonic in some way. It's all really very, very good, and it's she's brilliant in it. And I thought she was an excellent choice. She's got a great voice, and she looks like she could be a bit of a badass kind of version of Galadriel. And I'm surprised to have found that I'm not as sold as I thought I was going to be by her. And I don't really quite know the reason, but I think part of it is because she talks in a weird way. She kind of, and it's annoying me that she kind of has her voice closed. She'd like to, maybe it's to do the accent or something, but she has her mouth closed quite a lot. And I don't know whether it's not. I don't know whether that's just me needing to get over it, but I really liked the fight scenes, and I like her kind of some of the lines. I think she delivers a very traditional kind of Lord of the Ringsy lines. You know, the whole advert line. I think it was something along the lines of, you know, you've not seen the things that I've seen, Elrond, and all that. I quite like those sorts of big moments where you like have a bit of a dramatic speech, and I think she did really well with that. And I like the whole fact they introduced everything with her as a voiceover. So I'm a big fan. Oh, you know what? We didn't do the reviews of Elrond. We'll look at the comments in a second. We'll hold fire on the numbers for Galadriel. But I'm a big fan of Galadriel generally. And again, I think this is going to be one of those things where people hate it because she's not the ethereal genius that we're all expecting. But again, she starts as a sort of misguided, maybe a bit sort of over-eager to go into battles, and eventually she'll learn her wisdom. But I don't know, what was your general overview with Galadriel?
I must admit, I think it's a little bit too early to say. I think that the way she's set up, I must admit, I think I'm under a lot of pressure to like her as a character because a lot of steaming turds and misogynists don't like her from the off. If any of those steaming turds and misogynists are in the comments, then frankly, get wrecked. But on the flip side, I must admit, I did find her a bit boring. She's, you know, and if she's constantly vindicated, the risk is that she's ultimately kind of always vindicated, because actually the decision making that she's going on against the wishes of her party and her seniors and her colleagues, putting lives at risk in the kind of hope of avenging her brother. You know, there's a risk of it being romanticized and being this extremely noble thing that she should never back down on. And actually, if she's completely vindicated without real struggle, I think that would be a really kind of dull arc.
It could be. Well, I suspect that won't happen because she's wrong, isn't she? Ultimately, at the start, we already know that she wants to go north because she thinks that the orcs are going north, and they're actually in the Southlands.
There's still a way of.
Yes, I knew that Sauron was kicking her. Yeah, I know what you mean. But that's an interesting point. I do think that there's more. Yeah, I think, well, this is exactly why we were saying earlier that you can't really judge it on the first two episodes, because this is only the very start of their narrative arcs, and it will take time for them to develop. Before we rate Galadriel, let's go through the comments from other people. So people, of course, this was the last comment we went to. People are, of course, allowed to like Rings of Power, and I don't require films to be 100% book canon. What I meant is it's the IP that carries the show, not the writing, story, characters, music, or even visuals. I mean, actually, I fair enough, follow the fun. I'm not sure I agree with that. I think the writing, story, and music and visuals are very good. The characters are what I'm unsure of at the moment. Elves at Helm's Deep, what? Yeah, good point. 0 out of 10, missed the wedding. Not sure what that means. No Smash Stone, 0 out of 10. Next. Okay, I don't know what that's all reference to. I think Elrond is my least favorite. Here we go.
He's talking about Elrond's visit to the dwarves. Didn't go because he.
I'm with you. Yeah. Sorry, apologies. We didn't touch on that. Yeah, I liked the fact that he didn't. We learned a lot there about dwarves and elves and mortality and immortality, didn't we? That 20 years has passed by, and I felt like he was a bit of a douchebag for that. And you really, really felt for the dwarf Durin, didn't we? But anyway, let's carry on because we're talking about Elrond at the moment. Elrond's my least favourite. He should have been leading the armies as he was the vice regent, not some Oxbridge politics type. I think he'll get there. Elrond is very different from how he's portrayed in Lord of the Rings, but a lot of hints to his future character give him room for a lot of growth. Yeah, I think that's pretty much what we said. Ryan on the 5, yeah, so quite low. Callum 7. What a nerd talking so much about Star Trek, says Chris to you. Very good. 0 out of 10, too much swim. She's just not the same person as in the PJ. So there was only 2 ratings for Elrond, but hopefully as we get through, we'll get some more ratings for the other people. So Frederick says 0 out of 10 for too much swim for Galadriel. She's just not the same person as in the PJ trilogy. No, she isn't, which I can understand. She feels off now, but with 5 seasons, she and Ellen have time to grow into what they are in the books. I agree, Ryan. I'm just concerned that until then we're going to have characters that we don't like. But maybe we'll get over that quicker.
I think they've set. I think we do have to sympathise slightly with the utterly impossible task that the writers in this have. Writing characters that everyone is already invested in from a future perspective, from a perspective of where they end. I mean, when you write a character, it's every single theory about how you write a story tells someone that a person's arc happens in 3 acts, and to start at the end with some people that we've known for, even if you've not read the books, for 20 years, and have to go back and write in an arc in a reverse perspective, I think is an unenviable task. And I'm hoping some patience will pay dividends.
Yeah.
I might be back here in a year's time with a red face, but
the J-Max making some points about the lore, which I don't know the detail on. So Finrod didn't fight evil. I assume Finrod is the brother who dies in the series. She did have 2 brothers who did die fighting evil, but she doesn't want to avenge them? Question mark. Good. I don't know. That's the sort of thing that I can imagine if you're a fan of the lore, that it would bother you. It doesn't make much difference to me, but that's just the way. I guess that's because you're so into the lore than more than I am. And so I mean, I like the way that they're setting it up for Galadriel to. It makes me feel like I'm glad that they're explaining a bit of the stuff that. As a non-lore person, I've read the books, as I say, and I've read some of the appendices, but the lore stuff that kind of sets up Galadriel being this person who is determined to stay in Middle-earth until everything's sorted. I like that they're kind of giving some sort of background to that. There's giving her some roots for the reason for why it takes till the end of the Return of the King for her to leave Middle-earth, which I really like that. And I'm guessing Elrond does the same. And it seems like nice ground for them to start treading. So, So anyway, we've got loads of characters to rate. So let's get our numbers ready for this one. Everyone get your numbers, your review numbers for what you think of Galadriel here. And we will see where we go. So I've got my card. Yeah. What do you think? 3, 2, 1, go. So you're the opposite of me. See, I think I like her more than Elrond, so therefore I have to go 7.
So my
I'm still not sold on it yet.
It's a placeholder number. I just think it's too early to judge.
Yeah, I mean, mine could change. Obviously, we're entitled to changing. In fact, we'll do this over the course of the few weeks. Not just you, but a variety of people. Hopefully, will be talking to me in this. Finrod didn't fight. Oh, we had that. I mean, Finrod is the one who fights Sauron and gets captured and was killed by a werewolf, saving Beren. Huh. Okay. Too bad we didn't get the Finrod versus Sauron rap battle. I'd like to see more. I must admit, I would have liked to have seen more of that battle. Maybe we will see more of that battle, because it looked like a pretty epic fight, and it was a shame to see just a tiny fraction of it so far. I am very sad. I know, says J-Mac. I need a life. No, it's fine. Look, we're all sitting here on a Wednesday night talking about a TV series, so that's fine, and we roll dice related to it, so it's fine. Here we go. Fans saying 6, says also Chris for Galadriel. That's interesting. Callum says 6. Ryan says 6 as well, so that's interesting.
Consensus.
Yeah, Jonas says we're fans of the lore, up in arms at the time of the Fellowship, like when Arwen rather than Glorfindel arrived to carry Frodo to Rivendell. I think they were. Some certainly were. Whether or not they're still fans of whether they came around in the end or not, I don't know. Interesting. Right, okay, the next character.
People, sorry.
Go on, no, carry on.
People talk about the films and how lore accurate they are and the canon consistency. The films aren't even, the extended cut of The Return of the King isn't consistent with the non-extended cut. So there's no kind of clearer demonstration of the fluidity of canon, I think, than that.
It's a very good point. Right, let's go into Dwarves, episode 2. This was Prince Durin of the realm of Khazad-dûm. And I'm going to say straight out the boat, I really did not like the dwarves that walked Elrond to Prince Durin with those weird helmet things where everything was they just looked all a bit waddly. And everything just didn't feel quite right. But then when they got into this chamber, my God, was that cool. I really like this guy. He's a great actor. I think he's Owen Arthur. Very good Prince Durin. He's exactly what I'd expect a dwarf to be. I don't know much about Durin, People feel free to tell me more about Prince Durin. I don't know whether he's the one who ends up getting killed by the Balrog or not, but either way, I really, really liked this dwarf sequence, and I think he feels like exactly what all the dwarves have been so far in Peter Jackson's version of The Lord of the Rings of Middle Earth, without feeling too much like a caricature of what we've already had. I don't know whether you agree with that or not.
I don't think I can add much to what you said, actually. Agree 100%. Except for I don't know what you're talking about with the hats. I'm afraid I didn't spot that, but that could have just been me not paying attention.
I'll get the picture up again because I think it's in the picture. So the guys on the left of as you look at this image, you can see that they're like I don't know whether they're like the Khazad Guard or the equivalent, but the faces look like they have these beard guards. Not fundamentally against beard guards, but it looks a bit. They look too rounded. They look kind of bulbous. Like they're swollen faces, and the way I see dwarves has always been very straight edges and all that, and that helmet or the beard guard in particular just doesn't look dwarvy to me. It looks a bit sort of swollen, like he's been bitten by a bee. But I won't take that away from them.
They don't bite you, Harry. That's.
Yeah, you're right. Thanks
fundamental.
Very much. Thanks for massively undermining my point there by picking on that one word. But yeah, that was my one thing that I didn't like about it. The music was epic in Khazad Dûm, because of course I knew that they'd announced Howard Shore as doing the theme for it, which at the time I just assumed that meant he was going to do all the music, but it's not all. It's someone called Bear McCreary. He's done loads of different films before, but when I saw that it wasn't actually him, Howard Shore, I was a little bit worried. But that has the music has been very good. I love the Harfoot music. I love the dwarf music. It's sounding perfect as far as I'm concerned, or certainly it's got potential. So okay, Durin, some comments here. What we got? Oh yeah, Ed Foster also had a 7. She's got to go through those formative bits to become the wisdom she is in Lord of the Rings. Correct, Ed. Well done. I agree. I'm saying correct as if
objectively correct. Well done.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with what you're saying.
Coincides with my own will be accepted. Yeah. All others will be rejected.
Yes. No, that's exactly what I think, Ed. Welcome to the show. You haven't commented so far. So, Frederick Schultz says 12 out of 10, much dwarf. Yeah. 0 out of 10, boob armor stupid. There was boob armor in the picture. Let me just get that up again, just so we can ogle the boob armor. There's the cone kind of breast things that one of the dwarves is wearing, which, is dwarf armor. I don't know. You think it's stupid if you want, that's fine. 9 out of 10 for the dwarves. Like the homage to the Hobbit art styles too. Yeah, I think that, that's a fair point, because there was a lot of dwarf work, a lot of work gone into the design of the dwarves in the Hobbit films, as opposed to the Lord of the Rings. But it was nice to see Khazad Dûm in a living world with all the mirrors functioning, and the mirrors. I love that they pointed out the mirrors, because I think at one point in the I don't think they mentioned it in the films, actually, now I think about it, but it was certainly touched upon in some GW work of the mirrors and all that sort of stuff. So that's cool. Right, okay, it seems that people are already putting their numbers in. So what are we going to think for the representation of Prince Durin and the dwarves? And I'm going to add, just before we reveal my number, the sequence where he tells Elrond how sad he was that he missed his wedding is heartbreaking. I thought that was really good, really fantastic, and that earns it a 9 out of 10 for me. 9 out of 10, because you can't be perfect, can you? Right, but that's good. I'm glad we're on the same. Yeah, Ed says 9 for the dwarves, like the homage to Hobbit art styles. Callum says 10 out of 10. Follow the Fun says the dwarves is something I actually didn't hate. Oh, okay. Well, that's...
if we can win follow the fun round, then we can.
Yeah, exactly. Round, yeah, the dwarves always win people like you around. Follow the Fun. I'm intrigued at what your actual name is. I don't know whether I've met you in real life, but Follow the Fun. I'm glad that
it's my alternative account. I've just got it here to say
it. I like the idea that that you've been watching these 2 hours of programming, hating every minute, but the dwarves came along and you loved it, so that's good. Ryan says dwarves are great. I kind of like the mask helmets. Matches up with the helmets and masks described that help them resist dragonfire. I agree. I think it's cool that they've got those things. I just think that I didn't quite like that beard cover. Chris Cooper says 8 out of 10, good. Johners, there was a lot of debate and doomsayers before the films came out too, and the changes and then there you go. That was in reference to the thing earlier about people not liking Glorfindel change. Ryan Coop says 9. Erebus 8, struggling with there being 2 Durins at the same time though. Is that? Oh yeah, I suppose that's compression of the timelines. I guess that's where that comes in. Interesting, right? Okay, we've not got loads and loads of time left because I don't want to be doing this all night. We've got 2 or 3 main things to get through. This one, we'll keep this one brief. This is Gil-galad, if you didn't know already. And I suspect we're going to feel the same about him as we felt about the other elves. But on the face of it, did not like Gil-galad. I think he sucks and he's a horrible character and I hate him. But then I don't have any preconceptions based on Gil-galad other than him in the game and knowing that he's a high king of all kingdom. So I don't know. What do you think?
I thought he was the living embodiment of a shrug.
Yeah.
There was nothing to think. I didn't engage with him at all.
I think that's the problem. I don't know whether he's going to be a big character or not, but the fact that we shrug him off and he should be a fairly sizable role, I'd have thought. But he felt a bit non-character.
In big world-building programs, there's a bit of a trope of obviously the kind of learned senior person coming along and being there to dump exposition, to characters who aren't in the know. Particularly when they're, it's so convenient for a writer to have a character whose role it is in world to know everything. Because then you have a dumb character near them or an uninitiated character near them, and so if Elrond is going to be tutored by Gil-galad or Celebrimbor Rom, then he's got people to tell him what things in the world are supposed to be and therefore tell us. Yeah. I kind of just assume he's going to be there to do that kind of thing for a bit, and then he'll bugger off.
He'll bugger off and he won't be around much. Yeah. I'm going to get my review out. We don't need to everyone to review him, but if you have any interesting comments about Gil-galad, then go for it. I'm going to go for this, a 4. A 3, fair enough. Yeah, I could have happily gone for a 3. I haven't got a picture of Celebrimbor, but while we're talking about him, I like him a lot better than Gil-galad, but it's probably the same sort of deal, I'd have thought. And here we go. Where we go? Okay. Follow the Fun is called Elliot and lives in Sweden. Hello, Elliot, who lives in Sweden. Savivor says, "Why is there no person of color on the panel tonight?" Oh, that's an edgy joke. That's an edgy joke, Savivor. I couldn't find any. But there you go. 0 out of 10 needs more spear, says Frederick Schultz. This is for Gil-galad, I assume. Why does Gil-galad not want to speak to his relative and send her away? I don't know. This is a good question. Maybe you should ask him. But I think, as Alex says, it's probably just that he's not going to be a main character. A 5 for Gil-galad, a 3 for Gil-galad from Ryan. Okay, cool. Now, these are going to be my favourite ones for the whole series, I'm sure. I don't know who these characters are meant to be, but I already love them. Mm. I mean, so they're hobbits. And I'm looking at this picture and I'm thinking, are they actually acorns in the hair, or is this a different picture? I hope it's different because they
you get your own quiz wrong.
I may have done. I thought that they were acorns, but the fact that I can't remember who it was. Was it so Colin? I feel like I'm getting that wrong already. But anyway, if you said earlier it was thingies as well, so I'm going to go with that as well. But anyway, so these are the half-foots. There's that moment where he twists his ankle, and that was pretty grim. And there's also the sort of the cheekiness of the one, the kind of the sparkiness, and then this sort of slightly cautious other friend, which is a little bit of a trope, I guess. It's a bit like you kind of Jon Snow and your Sam from Game of Thrones. But I just can't help but like them. I really do like them. I don't know about you, but they just feel like hobbits. But not hobbits, which is good because there wouldn't be hobbits. And it's a great way of getting hobbits and lightness and a bit of joy into the series and a bit of kind of wonderment, which I just really enjoyed them. What do you think of the Half-Foots as hobbit replacements?
Again, 100%. I thought they were absolutely fantastic, really endearing, which is what they're supposed to be. And of course, again, just from a storytelling perspective, I think one of the great things about hobbits in the first place is that they're the audience. They are, again, the outsiders without institutional knowledge of the world and the way it works. and they're experiencing its horrors and its epicness and its mysteries at the same time as we are.
Yeah,
and exploring it. Basically, they explore it on our behalf. It's hard to replicate that, but they're doing it in a really wonderful way by making them exactly as you say, not clearly they're fulfilling that role. They're not exactly the same, but they are equally endearing and charming, and they've got some really kind of vibrant characters. And I thought it was really well done.
Yeah, I really like the way that they've built the Half-Foot world in a way that feels as you say endearing as Hobbiton, and there's kind of touches of them being a bit sort of like that, when they clear out all their stuff and they appear out of all these nooks and crannies. That they one of the first things they do is get like a tray of food out and put it on the table, like all those sorts of things, and the fact that Lenny Henry puts his big book of I don't know what it is, a big book of histories or whatever it is, and he just whacks it out and he gets back to normal. It all just feels quite sweet. I've immediately fallen in love with the Half-Foot world, and I think the part of me felt that during the first 2 episodes, every time I was with Galadriel and Elrond, I was like, bring me back to the Half-Foots, because they're the bit that I'm enjoying the most at the moment, and I want to see more of them. And I suspect, as with Game of Thrones, for example, which is a similarly sprawling thing where you jump from one storyline to the other, I hope that we'll find that sometimes one storyline slows down a bit and another storyline picks up, and you really want to get back to that storyline, because that's the way that it keeps you going and keeps you sort of engaged in all of the storylines. But at the moment, I'm all about the Half-Foots and the characters there. So let us know in the comments what you think of the Half-Foots. Do you hate them? Are they strange? But let me know what you think. And let's get our numbers out, because I think this is going to be a universal one with us two. Whether or not everyone else agrees or not is a different matter. 3, 2, 1. Oh, gone the wrong way. I've gone 10.
You've gone full 10. You said no one's perfect. You lied to me.
The Half-Foots are perfect. As good as they can be. As good as they can be at the moment. I thought I needed room. For the Half-Foots. So I like them. So let us know what you think of the Half-Foots. Chris says a 9. 0 out of 10. Skies are strange. Yeah. I like the accents, actually, because they've gone with a kind of vaguely Irish accent. I couldn't pinpoint exactly where in the island of Ireland they're meant to be from, but I liked that they have a distinct accent and they've gone with it, and it's not an accent that's been used yet in the Lord of the Rings world. Like the Hobbits, all kind of West Country, aren't they? Or largely. Then you've got the Scottish dwarves, and then you've got like posh English folk as you sort of Gondorians and elves and all that sort of stuff, and then the people from Dale are all Welsh, but these are the Irish, and I feel like it's nice that they've got their accent that kind of keeps them to one side and also makes them feel quite sort of folksy, because they've got all the folksy Irish.
It's interesting, isn't it, what it says about public perception of individual accents as to how they get allocated in fantasy TV.
Yeah, it does. You don't often get a sort of dwarven, sort of elven Scottish person, do you? But there you go. That's fine. Stereotypes help with these things, isn't it? Don't they?
I'm not politicizing. I just think it's an interesting observation about the way we perceive our neighbours.
It is an interesting observation indeed. I liked it. Yeah, no, I love them. And so I guess I've just accidentally got 7 for me. Just out. So how he looks to the actor from the films. I guess that was Gil-galad. But how could you tell? How could you tell that he looked like the guy from the Lord of the Rings? Anyway, so there are more characters, obviously, that we haven't touched on. And I'm just going to spin through a few of these just to give them mentions. Disa, the dwarf queen, I thought she was pretty cool. Like, she came on and she was immediately an interesting character. Like, she was fun and jolly. And I like the fact that she made dwarf women a thing. And you could see why dwarf women are dwarf women, if that makes sense. And just felt kind of cool. I like that. I don't know whether you had any interesting things to say about her.
Second that.
No, then.
Well, I say only to agree.
Yeah, fair enough. Bronwyn, who is this generic female man, human person. I like that she's a bit badass and she took the orc to bits, but it does feel like she's very much there to be the love interest of this guy, who's an elf, who seems to be very much like an elf. And I don't know whether they're setting up to try and be like a Aragorn-y type, but he does seem a bit bland at the moment.
He's one I'm not sure about, to be honest.
Yeah. I would give him quite a low score because he feels very stereotypical kind of like straight-laced hero of the moment.
But they're I'm just not interested in their story at all at the moment.
Yeah. And it should, I think it's setting it up to be like the more interesting story, right? I mean, you've got this kid who's finding this sword that we don't know about, but I'm not that bothered by that either. You got this really cool sequence with this super scary orc, which I couldn't find a decent picture of, so I had screenshot it earlier on. It was great. I mean, it had one of the best moments in the second episode, but it still didn't feel quite like the story's getting underway there. But I did really like that.
But just from the fact, I like the fact that someone sat down and said, let's make orcs really scary again.
Yeah, because you're right. Like, especially in the, if you think Return of the King or whatever, where it's just legion after legion of orcs that the Rohan just charged through. Yeah. And the same with the Hobbit films, where like all the goblins are just completely irreplaceable. They just don't feel scary at all. And even
by the end, like the Merry and Sam in the stairs, he's just kicking ass and destroying orc after orc. And it's like you forget that orcs, they're not just some little sort of gremlins that are being pulled out a hole and slapped on the front line. They are meant to be trained and drilled, and they're meant to be professional. Well, not professional, but they're meant to be soldiers, bred to be soldiers. And I did always find it to be a bit of a shame that by the end of the films, they're not really a threat.
Yeah, and this one felt scary, and it's like, oh, okay, imagine having like 10 of them invade your village. Now that's scary. Like, I like that they've. I mean, eventually, obviously, it'll become elves charging into orcs and just tearing them to bits, I guess. But
we can enjoy it for the moment, though.
Yeah, exactly. And to be fair, even that little tiny shot we saw of Finrod, I think people were saying earlier, when he's surrounded by the battle and it's like he's being pressed together and he's like shouting, and that did look like a proper gritty battle. And I'd quite like to see some battles in Rings of Power which aren't just a whitewash, where one character or one army just destroys the other army, like we have seen a bit in the Lord of the Rings in the past. So I'd like to see more of the Battle of the Bastards style stuff from the Game of Thrones, where it felt like, this is hard, like they're gonna die, and then it gets saved by knights.
It'd be quite nice if the good guys just lost one for once.
Yeah, that is true.
Lord of the Rings is a history of evil getting quite close to winning and then just not quite doing it.
An army bred for a single purpose, destroy the world of men, and then completely fails in its first ever battle.
You need to fine-tune your approach, to be honest.
Yeah. Okay, so J-Mac says he loves the Harfoots. I think it was the Harfoots we were talking about. 5, didn't really like the promos around the Harfoots, but I ended up not hating them as much as I thought I would. Happy to give them more of a chance. Okay, fair enough. J-Mac says he quite likes Arondir. Oh, that's interesting. That's weird, though, because J-Mac seems to have not been so hot on the rest of it, but he liked Arondir, which is something we were a bit cooler on.
Yeah, but we've already discussed that J-Mac is weird and wrong about everything. So
this is very true. Although I don't think he or Bronwyn smiled at each other once.
See, that's a really good point.
Yeah, it was. There's a lot of brooding kind of tension, wasn't there?
It's the same as like what's her face, the elf from The Hobbit.
Tariel.
Yeah, I know that there's loads of controversy around Tariel and the dwarf whose name I forget, and their love story and it being Crowbed and whatever. I'm not bothered about any of that. What bothered me
or Philly
was completely. It's like he basically makes a joke. Then that's it. They're madly in love. It's like no people don't act that way, and it seems like it's kind of going the same road. It's like they never actually experience any joy together. It's more like Stockholm syndrome than it is true.
There wasn't. Yeah, it's like, well, he's look at everyone else in the village. It's hardly like she's going to fall for them. So, look, an attractive elf comes in, and
it's also like, what are you doing at my house? It's like that's a genuinely good question. He's just trying to put your house armed. I'd be nervous, frankly.
Yeah, that's a good point. And also, I immediately thought this kid. I mean, they talk about his dad not being on the picture. Is he not just the elf's son? Like, is that a thing that we should know? Or I just thought he was the elf's son, and that they weren't talking about it for some reason, because he's got look, he's obviously mixed race, and she was white and he's black as an elf, and he's covering up his ears. Is he not just an elf kid? Is that not or half elf? I just thought that. I just assumed that was the case, and then I discussed him with people afterwards, and then turned out not everyone connected the dots. Maybe I'm wrong, but that's immediately what I thought, that he was some sort of elven kid who then he'll sort of realize at some point, oh no, I'm half elven, my pointy ears have developed, and now I'm I hate my dad, I hate my life, etc., etc. I'm going to go to the dark side and be whatever it is that this sword is going to make him. But I don't know. Maybe that was just me extrapolating an awful lot from him being mixed race and covering his ears up. I don't know.
I mean, they obviously what they're clearly pointing out is there's a history not revealed to us yet. And they obviously talk. He talks with his supervisor, for want of a better word, about the fact there's not been a successful mating between elves and men. For however long.
Oh yeah. That it seemed like. Go on. No, I was interrupting you, so it's fine.
But I think I basically said all the important words, so you might as well crack on.
He talked with his supervisor, blah, blah. Yeah, the supervisor was an interesting character, or his mate, or the comedy elf, like who had like one scene. Yeah, the comedy elf, and he was like, "Oh, I know what you were up to in there, blah, 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 and all that." And then and then they vanished. He just kind of went. It's like, oh, I thought you were introducing the first ever elf with a sense of humor in the Lord of the Rings series,
it's like, and that's gone.
Yeah, it's like, oh, okay, no, they're not allowed to be comedy. You're not allowed to have comedy elves, which I thought was a bit of a shame. But
I must admit, I do love. I should mention, I do very much enjoy the idea as seeing the elves as oppressors and occupiers.
Yeah, that's cool, isn't it?
And like a really different time. They're not these kind of magical, mysterious, ethereal beings from somewhere else that we never get to meet, except for in flashes through the forest kind of thing.
Yeah.
They are in your face oppressors. Because you chose the wrong side.
They're occupying force, and they're there to watch over you as you come out of the guy from, you stop worshipping Morgoth and stuff. I like that. I think his dad went away to fight, says J-Mac. Yeah, maybe. But I just, maybe I'm extrapolating far too much from his ethnic background and his ears being covered up. But anyway, Ryan Coop says his father is missing and could be the guy on the raft. The guy on the raft. Oh, yeah, the guy on the raft that Galadriel meets. Yeah, could be that. That would. I'd hate if that happened.
That would be weird.
If you followed the story the whole way through, and then it ended up being, oh look, this is where they came from, and that's how we join up. And that would be really annoying. Yeah, you're right though. If it's that would be really annoying. Oh, Ryan, you might have landed on a poor bit of foreshadowing that they're planning. I don't know. But anyway, there you go. So I think that's all the pictures that I've got. So the conversation is now officially over. Except, hold on, I need to hide that. I've lost it now. Here, whatever. That's the best picture I could get of the stranger other than the video earlier. What do we think this is? I mean, does anyone know for sure? Like, is it a thing that is foreshadowed? Because my immediate thought was he's got to be one of the Istari, the wizards. I assumed Radagast because he's kind of a bit naturey and he was all, I don't know. But like, maybe that's just complete fabrication on my part. But what did you think of this? Did you have any ideas? I mean, I know you're not well versed in the lore either, but any ideas of who could be the stranger guy that lands in the woods?
My instinctual reaction was Gandalf, and I don't know whether that's incredibly stupid.
Yeah. That was my thoughts, but I thought Gandalf might be a bit obvious.
It was, yeah. Well, exactly. It did seem a bit obvious, and so maybe not. But there was, at the end of the day, they've got to make a lot of money off this. It's got to be broader than they can't make it for the 26 of us or whatever, how many people are watching now. And there was a big musical cue when it landed. It's this huge event. Frankly, I just think they're setting themselves up for failure if it's someone even just too obscure for people who have only really sort of dipped into the world through the films to not get. I think that they and so that's so not even from a lore perspective, from just even just a marketing perspective, as frustrating as that is, my guess was Gandalf. But
I see your point. I'll counter that cynical argument with if they were going to have Gandalf in it, would they not have included that or mentioned that already?
Well, no, not necessarily, because there's one. People are guessing it from the get go. Two, I think that they'd be torn to shreds if there are genuinely kind of backlashes from fans where things are spoiled too early. Was it the one of the Terminator movies where you find out that the main guy is evil in the trailer, and then spoiling the big twist. But also, I think that they want to generate conversation. If we're kind of continuing the cynical trend as the show develops, there's no point getting a huge amount of chat in episode 1 and then 5 weeks in, the numbers are dwindling. What they want is 5 weeks in, something else. People be like, oh, let's start tweeting this hashtag Gandalf. So
that's okay, fair point. Hashtag Gandalf. People are popping
hashtag Gandalf
off
in the chat, everyone.
Yeah, I was gonna say, if it's Gandalf, I'll be raging. Please, not Gandalf. It's Erendil who crashed his flying ship while drunk. I don't know the story about Erendil, but I know he the light of Elendil and the beloved star is the glass file, isn't it? That's the same. Oh, am I thinking of a different thing? Agree, please, not Gandalf. Makes sense for an Astari, says Ryan, except it's a bit too early hoping for Saruman or Sauron. Remember, the timelines are being compressed, so early, maybe not. But a Saruman or Sauron, I guess it could be Sauron. I feel like he's not evil, though. Although maybe it's just setting up to... The thing that makes me think Radagast, he was like mashing down those snails, wasn't he? Like, he was proper on those snails. So I thought that's a Raddy thing, right? I don't know. One of the Blue Wizards would be okay. Yeah. I mean, maybe it will be. That would be really cool. But yeah, counter to your point about wizards. In one version of the history, the two Blue Wizards arrived at the same time as the forging of the rings. Interesting. My guess is he'll turn into Balrog. Also, when you say in one version of the history, does that imply there are multiple versions of the history and therefore there is no specific canon that we need to measure this against? In which case, I'll carry on. My guess is he'll turn into a Balrog. Yeah, I like that. I hope so. There's a sort of sound theory out there, even though it's unlikely. The flame is cool, just like in the cave. Oh, yeah, the meteor appears as Galadriel is leaving the cave. Or leaving Middle-earth. Oh, I see. So maybe he's gone... Oh, I like that Sauron theory. Okay, yeah, that's true. So Sauron, okay, the flame is cool, just like in the cave. Good point.
But Sauron has to. I mean, I'm assuming. Sorry, this gets to the point. I'm assuming that in the show we're going to see him, Sauron, impersonate whoever he impersonates in order to go and forge the
deceive.
ring.
Yeah, he's got to deceive, hasn't he?
Hence the name of the show. That's a long way he's got to go from old man found in the dirt, kind of struggling to form words, to deceiving the elves into forging rings. I mean, I guess he's a quick learner, but
I feel like if you're gonna, it's a long journey from being fed snails with the Harfoots to being like the deceiver of elven kings. It may well happen, but I'm a bit skeptical of that idea. Although I do like the fact that the cold fire is interesting.
that is interesting.
Cool. He might be Sauron's kid. Is that? Are we talking about? Maybe we're talking. That might have been when I mentioned the other kid from earlier. But he might be Sauron's kid. It could be. Ryan could also end with him killing most of the Harfoots and turn very dark. Oh my God! Don't suggest that, Frederick. We already like them. What are your tinfoil
that's what makes it even more brutal.
Yeah. What are your tinfoil hat secret Sauron theories? That's people saying that sort of stuff. Halbrand ship guy comes up quite often. I don't know what that's reference to. Apologies. Imagine Halbrand being the father and Sauron in disguise. Oh God, yeah, no, half Sauron boy. Maybe all these comments are arriving a bit late. I can see that Tolkien changed his mind a lot. He did. Definitely set it up to have people guessing hints either way. Erebus. That's a very fair point. And that, I think, we're going to call it a night because I said an hour and a half.
You need to do your giveaway, Harry. Your giveaway.
I do, yeah. So I need to do my giveaway. So this is for patrons only. So apologies for this if you're just watching. But there's probably details in the links below for that, as well as a link to the to Battle Camper, who is this man right next to me. So this is a little draw for patrons to win a Glorfindel Lord of the West. It's taken me ages. I bought this a week ago, and I've just not had time to do the draw. I've got everyone's names in a little jar, and some people's names have been more than once because they contribute more. But everyone has an equal chance in the sense that I pick one out, because that's how chance works. So here we go. Yeah, that's right. Okay, here we go. I'm not going to look. There might be a really small one, so I'm going to... Yeah, okay, we've got one, I think. Yeah, that's one. This is very exciting for one person. I believe this is a previous winner, and his name is Everard Harvey. Ev H, it comes up as on here. So that's the wrong way. So there you go. Congratulations, Everard Harvey. I believe he might be in America as well. So I will contact you.
I'm cancelling my Patreon.
I'll contact you about how to get you Glorfindel or some sort of replacement. If it's going to be really expensive to send it over postage wise, but I'll send you vouchers if not. Anyway, either way, thank you very much for joining us this evening. There's some more comments. If he's Gandalf, the half thing might be the way to explain the connection to hobbits. Yeah, true. Originally, all the wizards arrived in the third age. We're later talking about the history to have the 2 blue wizards arrive in the second age, so possible. Woo, grats. I guess that was in relation to the winner of the prize. Thank you very much. And Alex, it's worth saying thank you very much for joining us for the whole evening. It's been great fun.
Thank you so much for coming on. Yeah, a lot of fun.
Some good bants, some good Rings of Power debate. And I really do appreciate all those folk who've been commenting with different opinions to ours. It always makes for a more interesting thing if everyone doesn't necessarily agree. But I do hope that you enjoy the program and continue watching it, because you never know, it might get a lot better and you might enjoy it more down the line. So thanks very much. I think that's it. Do you want to plug Battle Camper?
Click on it, see what you think, and that's the best I'm going to do.
I would highly recommend watching the one where you paint the horses in the woods.
That was really good. Is a good one. I think.
And the pirate ship one. That is fantastic. Okay. So yeah. There's some really good stuff there. So you do check out Battle Camper. And for those who are fans of my podcast, apologies for the delay releasing the Ardacon podcast. The audio is there. I will be releasing it at some point when I have found time to edit stuff. But I've been editing a lot of work-related audio. Based on it's a history of the Warhammer world anyway for the BBC. Check it out in my Entmoot page on Facebook. Anyway, thanks very much for joining. Much appreciate your time. I see some nice people saying nice things. So cheerio. Until next time. Boo-ra-rum. And awkward moment where I press the